Hi. 25% of empty nesters supposedly suffer from empty nest syndrome. I think it's more than that because I think people don't like to talk about their feelings. They don't want to be honest about their feelings. But what is it? What is the empty nest syndrome? Well, I'll tell you what it's not. It's not a formally recognized mental condition, a diagnosis like clinical depression is. It's just, some feelings that parents have when their kids leave the home, okay? But I can tell you, it can pack a powerful punch. I also want to mention at the outset, I am not a doctor. I'm not a therapist. I'm not a counselor, not any kind of medical professional. And if you feel that you're suffering with depression, or if you feel that your feelings of loneliness and sadness are going on too long, talk to your doctor. I went through the empty nest syndrome twice. My kids are 4 years apart. So when one was graduating from college, the other one was headed off to college. And for the first time, I was going to be by myself in like 22 years. I had no problem with the empty nest syndrome. I was kind of happy about it. I made up two rules, which I could never keep when I had kids in the house, which were there were to be no dirty dishes in the sink before you left the house or before you went up to bed. I have a dishwasher. I don't use it much. So, the kids would just leave everything in the sink. Now I could do the dishes, clean up the whole kitchen, and when I came down in the morning, it was still clean. I could put a book on the dining room table, and when I looked for it, I knew exactly where it was. It was great. I had no problem with it. I was 58. I was still working at an office, which was about 45 minutes away, so that was a long commute. My routine was pretty much the same. I really didn't have much problem whatsoever with it. Then the years roll by and the older one ends up coming back home. That was like 2019. She came back home and I was happy to have her home. It's nice to have somebody to talk to. But then COVID hit. She was working virtually out of the house. I still had the office that I went to. I still had my writing. I was doing a lot of fiction writing, and I had my writers group that I went to once a week, and I had things that I was doing. Then COVID hit, and we all know how much that impacted so many millions of people in this country. The isolation, the loneliness, the being stuck in the house with somebody like 24/7. It wasn't too bad, but I started to work virtually. So now my whole schedule is kind of screwy. And I was watching a lot of Netflix. In fact, I said to my sister, well, I finished Netflix because I had pretty much watched everything you could watch. And the daughter that had come home, the older one, she came home to save money because she wanted to buy a house. Well, sure enough, she does this the end of August and officially moves out in October, I think it was, of 2021. So now I'm an empty nester again. I didn't do so well the second time. I had bad knees, which kept getting worse, and I wasn't doing anything about them, like scheduling an appointment with the doctor. I had bad knees. I was still working virtually, but not working all that much. And I just was like alone all the time. And, meanwhile, the little one had moved down to DC. Was she out? Yeah, she was out of college by then. She's getting her master's in teaching. And the older one, she's busy. She bought an old house and it needed a lot of fixing up to do. And the little one is down doing her thing in DC. And I was just kind of alone. In fact, about a year ago, the older one said to me, Mom, we're not responsible for your social life. You have girlfriends? Anyway, my point is, you can go through this empty nest syndrome at any number of ages. It doesn't have to be just because the kid left for college, because a lot of kids come back and then leave again. Are you suffering from clinical depression, or is this just a phase that you're going through? There's a lot of similarities. There's sadness, a sense of loss, some loneliness, some of the symptoms. I mean, they're similar, but they're different. So we're going to explore that a little bit. And I'm not big on people self-diagnosing themselves, but we do it all the time, right? So here's a little guidance. Other feelings that happen with empty nest syndrome is you might have a lot of anxiety about your kid going off to school. How are they doing? Are they doing their work? Are they going to class? Or who are their friends, right? That can cause a lot of problems. Another thing could be the partner, right? I didn't have a partner that I lived with, but a lot of people do. And, sometimes they just don't get it. The partner's like, he thinks it's great. He thinks it's wonderful. We have the house for ourselves, right? And now we can maybe go on trips together or go do stuff together. And you don't feel like doing stuff together. And he doesn't understand what you're so upset about. Well, maybe you're beginning to wonder if you're more than just a little upset, right? So what are some of the causes for depression, right? There's a couple. There's three big ones. One are biological factors, right? That's genetic predispositions and neurochemical imbalances. So maybe you're just, prone to depression or anxiety. I remember years ago, I didn't even have kids yet. I was in law school working full time. And this year I had to take 4 classes. Oh, killer, man. I was not doing well. I wasn't doing well at work. Didn't have all my stuff read for school. It was not good. And I definitely was clinically depressed. I called up my girlfriend, who at this point had become a psychiatrist. And I called her up one night, drunk as a skunk, and crying, and I'm doing so horrible, and nobody likes me, and I'm such a loser. And then, of course, the next day I had to call her back because she lived in Seattle. She lived very far from me. It's not like I could just see her. And I had to call her back, and I had to apologize. And I'm like, oh, God, I made such an ass out of myself last night. I'm so sorry. And she's like, 2 things, Bev. 1, you need to go see your doctor. There's medication for this. 2, you need to find a different job. I was carrying 150 cases. I had more cases than any other paralegal in that office. And I had 4 classes. I also learned if you're going to be in law school and you need to take 4 classes, because if you're going at night, sometimes you're going to have to, make one a writing class so that you don't have to see your professor twice a week. You just have to see him once every 3-4 weeks. There's a solution to every problem. And so she said, go see the doctor. So I did. One of the hardest things I ever had to do. He was great. He left me for last, which was good. And brings me into his office and he says, so what's up? And I burst into tears. And he sat with me for an hour, just listening to me and talking to me and working things through with me. Got me set up with a therapist, got me some Prozac, said it's going to take 10 days for this to kick in. And sure enough, on day 10, I went from feeling like the world was collapsing on me and it was all my fault to, I have some problems and I have to work them out. And I guess maybe I really should be looking for a different job because this is just too much stress. This is horrendous. So I called my girlfriend back up and I told her about how I was doing. I'm like, I'm feeling great. I mean, is this how most people feel most of the time? And she says, yeah, pretty much. I said, it's amazing. She says, Bev, listen, thinking is chemical. Change the chemicals and you change the thinking. I'd never heard that before. So there are medications that people can take because maybe it's just, the chemicals that are in your brain are not at correct levels, and you need an expert to be able to help you figure out what those levels might be. You might try Prozac and it doesn't work for you. You might try, I forget what else, Xanax? I don't know what the other ones are. I only took Prozac, and I took that for a couple of years, decades ago. But you might have to do some trial and error to get the right medicine for you. So that's the biological factors. Environmental influences, we were just talking about that, where there's a stressful life events. Remember, there used to be a list way back about like the 10 big stressors in life, like getting married, getting divorced, having a baby, losing a job, getting a new job, moving, and the big one, the loss of a loved one. Well, there's also a lot of other things like financial problems. If you're having some, going through some hard times financially, health issues for you or somebody that maybe it's your spouse or somebody who's very important, maybe a parent. A lot of times people are going through menopause. Women are going through menopause while their kids are going off to school. Or their parents who have been pretty self-sufficient for a while are suddenly not. So there's a lot of big changes with that. And when I was looking this stuff up, there's a new thing that's been added, which is personal beliefs. Arguments about personal, religious, or political beliefs. That can cause some stress, right? Don't talk about politics. Don't talk about religion. And, stay off of Facebook as much as you can. Okay, so symptoms of clinical depression. Now, remember I said they're similar, but they're not the same. And you're going to be able to tell the difference right away. 1, little interest or pleasure in doing things. That's kind of different from just being down in the dumps, right? Little interest in or pleasure in doing things, feeling down, depressed, and hopeless. Trouble falling asleep, trouble staying asleep, or sleeping too much. Same thing with eating. You're not eating anymore, or you're overeating. Alcohol, and obviously alcohol and drug abuse, big sign. If that wasn't a problem for you before, or it has become a serious problem now, you should think about that. Feeling bad about yourself, that you're a failure, that you've let yourself down or you've let your family down. Trouble concentrating on activities, like you're not even interested in TV anymore. You're not interested in anything. You might have a touch of depression. I shouldn't laugh about it. I'm sorry. Now, this one I thought was sort of interesting. Moving or speaking so slowly that other people notice. Or the exact opposite, where you're running around like a chicken with their head cut off. You're fidgeting all the time, something that you didn't usually do. People are noticing. And if people are saying, hey, are you okay? You might want to think about calling your doctor. And of course, the most important one, the most severe, is if you have any suicidal thoughts whatsoever. Any suicidal thoughts whatsoever. Please talk to someone. There's a phone number you can call, 988. They call it the National Behavioral Health Crisis Line. But when I Googled 988, it said the suicide line. So if you have any serious or not so serious concerns and worries, especially if you're thinking about hurting yourself or hurting someone else, please, please, number one, call the hotline 988. Call your doctor, get an appointment. How do people cope with depression? Well, one of the ways that you can do that is therapy, cognitive behavioral therapy, or medications. They can be, as I mentioned with mine, the Prozac worked like a dream. Worked great for me. Might not work for you, but it worked for me. So talk to the doctor, see if you can get some therapy going. I think that's very helpful. Lifestyle changes. They say this about everything. Lifestyle changes. That means eat healthy, exercise more, get more sleep, and I'm going to add, drink more water, right? And I am from Philly, and I do call it water, but I'm trying to say water, which is hard for me to say. Anyway, I digress. But they always say that they right, always exercise more, eat better. These are all things that we know, right? Eat better, exercise more, and get more sleep. So that can help. Get some kind of a support team with your friends. Now, I don't know, because sometimes, if you've had friends that you've known for a long time, they care about you. They love you. Your spouse cares about you. She loves you. But they don't always give you the best advice, you'll get over it. Or, I had that when Joey left for college. Yeah, it's no big deal. That's not always the best advice to be getting from people. So I would stick with the professionals if I were you. One last thing is mindfulness and relaxation. When you're in bed 20 hours out of the day, you've got enough relaxation, right? But meditation, as I mentioned in an earlier video, I'm Quaker, and there's all different types of Quakers, but where I come from, we have silent meeting, and you come in and you sit down in the meeting house, and people sit in silence, and if you feel so moved to talk, to send a message, that you feel like you've been given a message to give to the group, then you rise and you say what you needed to say, and then you sit down. And then it can be another 10, 15 minutes before somebody else stands up and says something. There are some meetings where nobody says a word. And then there are some meetings where there are people popping up and down, they call them popcorn meetings. They're not great for me. They're not great because you don't have time to think about what people have said. But it's actually, most people are meditating during that time. Some people are actually praying. Some people are trying to figure out what's for dinner tonight. Some people are sleeping. There's always a meeting that has somebody sleeping. But meditation is wonderful. I consider Quaker meeting as meditation. It's just a time to be quiet within yourself. And if you haven't tried it, try it. You don't need to have music in the background. Don't put a little timer on to say, okay, 10 minutes is up. Just sit and relax. And I'll do a video later about meditation because I really believe in it. Okay, so finally, let's say you've listened to this video and you've maybe Googled this and looked things up down, and you've decided that you're not really clinically depressed, but you have ENS, empty nest syndrome. How do you cure it? Well, number one, you don't. There is no cure for it. You just have, some of it is you just have to give it time. That's true. Things, as long as you're doing other things. But I think the most important thing, step one, is to be aware of your feelings and accept them. You are completely allowed to feel the way you feel. Your kid has left, or your daughter just got married and now she's living an hour away and you don't see her. Or, I mean, you feel sad, you feel lonely. It's okay to feel that way and accept that. That's perfectly acceptable behavior. And don't let people poo-poo you about that, because that's acceptable. 2, of course, is what I just mentioned about it's going to take some time. 3 is change your routine up a little bit. Get some, because look, now this is a good opportunity. You have a lot more time to learn some new things, which is exactly what this channel is about. It's about older people learning new things. So, I have a couple of videos up now. I just started. This is, I don't know, maybe my 6th. I think it's my 6th video. But we're going to be talking about all different things. What the experts say about learning, about different hobbies that people have. What are the most popular hobbies? But try and learn something new. You have this wonderful opportunity. And it can be maybe just getting into an exercise program, deciding to join the gym and go swimming 3 times a week, or just taking a walk, or starting some kind of a new adventure for you. Learning a new language, that's kind of my thing right now. But, try and learn and do some new things. So it gives you, it kind of sparks interest in you. I'll tell you what, this YouTube channel, if you want, I'll make some videos about doing a YouTube channel, because I knew nothing. I knew nothing. I didn't know how to take a screenshot, and I had never taken a video on my phone. In fact, just today, I was trying to change this from a vertical to a horizontal, and I couldn't figure out where to look at the damn camera. So I'm still learning a whole lot, but it has kept me busy. I have no time to be depressed at this point. I'm just trying to paddle as quickly as I can and learn how to do this channel. But for you, it could be anything that strikes your interest. And, try something for a couple of weeks. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work. Don't like it, you don't like it. I remember my eldest, when she was like in 5th grade, she took the clarinet, right? And after 1 year, she said she didn't want to take it anymore. And I said, oh, why? I said, I thought you liked it. And she looked at me and she says, well, now I know how to play the clarinet. Yeah, well, you know how the clarinet works. Don't know how great you are. I didn't say that, but I didn't make her do it. The rule was she had to do it for 1 year. After that, she didn't have to do it. All right, but I digress. Set new goals. I think I said that already, didn't I? Setting new goals. It's kind of up there with getting new activities. And stay in touch with your kids. I'll tell you one of the things, like my kids, I'm on Facebook. They're not. They're on Instagram. I'm not. And they're probably on a bunch of other things that I've never even heard of. That's very possible. But one thing that we do is Snapchat. And I love Snapchat because it lets me see what they're doing. Like a couple of weeks ago, they went apple picking and they sent me a snap. And it's like, I know exactly where they are. And it's like so cool that they sort of included me in this, right? So anyway, find a way either through texting or phone calls, maybe set up a time. That's something that a lot of people suggest, that you set up a time to talk to your kids, like every, Thursday night, you're going to have a conversation with them. With my kids, that would be setting me up for disaster because they're going to say, oh, Mom, I can't tonight. Oh, Mom, not this week. How about next week? So whatever works for your family, it might not work for mine. That's something that I have a problem with. Focus on the positive. Did you hear me complaining about my kid? Nobody loves their children more than I do. And all I do is bitch and complain about them. But they're good. They're good kids. And they've turned out great. So focus on the positive. It says many parents find that they have a better relationship with their children after they leave home. I don't know. I think I was better when I was the boss. Oh, and realize that your feelings may go in waves. Okay? You might have a couple of great days and then boom, something happens. You go to the supermarket and you see all the Halloween candy out. And it was your kid that always helped you with the Halloween decorations. And boom, you just begin to feel all sad and sorry for yourself again. That's the way you feel. You're allowed to feel like that. So, in conclusion, if you're really feeling that life is getting much more difficult, do yourself a favor. Talk to your doctor. Call 988 and talk to your doctor and get a therapist, get some medication, start doing some of the things that the doctor's going to tell you to do. You know, eat better, sleep more. But seriously, don't let this go, because this can be a very serious situation. And listen to the experts. If your friends and family are telling you, just get over it, listen to the experts. That's what your doctor's there for. I hope to see you again sometime. If you liked what you saw, please click like. I'm always looking for subscribers. I only have a handful at this point. I think I have like 13 as I'm filming this. Comment. I'd love to have some comments. I always respond to them. And share it. If you think that this video could help somebody, please share it. See you next time.